and them just having their knee on my stomach and me being like, I'm just tapping because I'm going to be sleeping.
Yeah, well, if I had £1 for every time someone's thrown up during training,
okay, that's good.
I've thrown up, I think technically I've only thrown up once badly, really laying into him, like really battering him. Kind of calls the guy over afterwards, like he's like, I'm sparring with him next. Like he's just kind of beat up one of the little kids. So anyway, Catalin goes with this guy. This guy like throws a kick at Catalin. Catalin checks it with his knee, which if you've ever done kickboxing, well, you have, but you know that's very painful. So the guy screams, goes on the floor. I don't really think anything ever again. He doesn't show back up in class, but I'm like, okay. Then I see him about a week later in Lidl, and he's got a cast on. He's like, yeah, I snapped my shin in half.
Oh.
Long drives, late nights, and lobby calls. This podcast has it all.
Right. Hello, welcome to the show Long Drives, Late Nights and Lobby Calls. This is a podcast mainly to do with the realities of the live music industry, with some stories from people on stages to everyone else behind the scenes. But this time we have a very special guest because it's not a music industry person per se, but it's someone that I've wanted to have on, and I'm super excited because it does actually draw a lot of parallels, like Dom was just saying beforehand. So I'm excited. But yeah, today we have Dominic Dillon, and is that correct? I haven't said. I know it sounds super stupid, but in my head I just was like, it is Dominic Dillon. I know you as Dom, so when I say Dominic, it sounds very formal.
Yeah, no, it's Dominic Dillon. To be honest, yeah, most people call me Dom Dillion. Like loads of fight posters have always been like Dom Dillion as well.
Yeah, I was like Dominic.
Yeah.
So Dom Dillion is a BJJ black belt, many accomplishments over catch wrestling world champion, British NoGi champion, 7 championship belts in MMA and K-1, GrappleFest vet, and Polaris.
Polaris, yeah.
Polaris. That is, I actually had to Google how to say that because I don't want to drop a bollock on that, but I feel like I have. Well, I mean, this is well exciting for me. So I'll just do a little bit of background of how I met you. So I actually, what year was it? I want to say 2019. It was definitely 2019, maybe. I think it was I think it was autumn or 20. It couldn't have been 2020. No, it definitely wasn't 20. Maybe 2018, 2019.
Yeah, I thought 2018, but I don't know. I might be wrong. A lot can happen in it.
I can't actually remember, but yeah. So I've always like, yeah, definitely. I think you're right. I think it was 2018, and I've always really, really enjoyed kind of MMA and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, I assume there is a massive influx after the UFC promotion kind of got it to be as the kind of worldwide renowned thing that it is now. And obviously, some of the fighters who are very popular. So I kind of not jumped on that bandwagon because I've always been interested in it, but I've never ever really went for it. And because of touring and stuff, I always had that excuse of being like, well, I tour, so I can't really kind of commit to it. But when I was studying, I had a bit of a sweet routine. I remember thinking, fuck man, I'm just spending all this money on a gym membership and all this other stuff, and actually I'd love to actually do it into something functional, even if it is just something that's like, even if I walk in there and look like a bit of a novice and just someone who's jumping on a bandwagon. But yeah, I remember I came to Elements, and that's where I met Dom.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I mean, as I say, everyone's a novice at first. That's always always the case.
Yeah, definitely. And did you find that there was a lot of people that there was a bit of a bloom Elements at the gym that you train?
I mean, it kind of went through peaks and troughs. Like, generally, like, I think one of the big notable ones, normally, particularly, because kind of Elements was primarily a jiu-jitsu gym. Whenever there was I think after the Khabib Conor fight, there was a big influx because, like, he got choked out, so everyone wanted to learn grappling. So you suddenly can get loads of people. But yeah, so you get little influxes like that. I'd say it's a little less, like, apart from around the Khabib Conor fight. It's probably individual fights tend to have less of an influx now. It's sort of, I don't know, it's kind of, I guess it's got that point where it's almost so routine in Western culture as a sport, whether you watch it a lot or not, most people are aware of it. It doesn't seem to have those massive spikes of, like, I don't know, 8 years ago or something, where you'd suddenly get something ping up on the radar, a particular fight, and you'd have a massive influx. The gym would be full.
Actually, I say that, you know, what was it called? A mate of mine, Blake McLeod, used to work for it. What is it called? and basically you bought a membership to their service, and then it meant that you had access to like Pure Gym and the gym and all these, but it was also classes. I can't remember what the service was called.
No, yeah, we were on that. Was it Class Pass? There was a couple, weren't there?
Yeah, Blake's gonna hound me if he ever listens to this.
Yeah.
And I remember doing it. I remember coming for like my third or second session with you, and and there was a kind of a woman in her late 50s, maybe early 60s, who was just like, this sounds great, and just turned up, and like, not gonna lie, she was up for it. And I remember like you were like, looked at me and you were like, sorry mate, you are the new guy, you have to put you in this.
I remember that session. Yeah, it was something like Class Pass or something. Yeah, it was. You get some really random. Not saying that it's not. They couldn't necessarily try it or be good at it, but yeah, it was kind of people that you kind of felt they were turning up because it was on the whatever thing they were doing on their like ticket, rather than because they actually wanted to do that. They were like, well, this is one of the things that I can get with my memberships, so I'm going to show up.
I'll just try it out. Yeah. I don't know if you have a bit of a like background and timeline of how you got into, like, I mean, the achievements that you've got are insane. Like, it's absolutely insane. So kind of how did you get into this?
I've done some form of martial art pretty much since I was about 4 years old, because my dad like taught Aikido, which I guess as a result, me and my brother got we grew up, got into more and more violent things as a result. Like, it's basically, I kind of think Aikido is like one step down from Tai Chi in violence. So me and my brother went through a load of ones until we kind of ended up in like full contact karate, and then into like jiu-jitsu, and then eventually we started there was a local promotion and stuff, and so we started having MMA fights in like, I think my brother had his first one when he was about 19, and I was like early 20s.
Oh, sweet. Oh, crazy. And how long is this, and how long is your kind of like career? And I mean, obviously you compete quite a lot, but you do a lot of teaching and training as well.
Yeah. I haven't had an MMA fight for about 3 years now, so I'm kind of semi-retired. I had decided as a New Year's resolution I was going to have a fight this year, but basically I've just been competing in grappling tournaments for the last 3 years, which is fun. It's not as damaging on my face.
Yeah, I was going to say, to semi-retire from MMA, was there any specific route why that you chose that?
I had a very my last fight was on Bama at Wembley Arena, and I ended up getting very, very badly broken nose, torn oblique or something, things, ended up leaving in an ambulance. To be honest, that's not the first time that's happened, but for some reason, with the advanced age as well, I think at first it was like, okay, now I'm just like healing up from this, I'm just going to take a bit of things, and then it was suddenly a year since I'd fought, which I think at that point was the longest I'd ever had off fighting since I'd first started. So and then, like, I was still grappling. I was getting better results and starting to earn some money from grappling tournaments as well. So then it was 2 years, and then now here we are 3 years. But it was just like, it was easier not like the fight camps themselves are almost more punishing than the fights. But
really?
Yeah, sometimes.
So for, I don't know if there's a way we can maybe explain it for people that aren't got like quite a full knowledge on combat sports and MMA specifically and grappling. What's a kind of good way to explain the differences between MMA to grappling, and then the kind of weight catchments of the weights as well? I don't know if that's something you might be able to explain.
Yeah. So basically, grappling will basically be taking all the like submission wrestling aspects that are in MMA. So you can do your takedowns, your throws, you can do joint locks, you can strangle people, and those kind of things.
It's such a great, like, you just strangle people.
You strangle people, you strangle them, you can neck crag, spine lock, that kind of thing. But basically there's no striking involved. So like, while you can get like broken arms, broken legs, it's generally lower percentage because you always have the option to tap out. It's very unlikely. Like major injury is generally a lot lower, and also generally the training for it as well. You can you don't need to have a specific camp because you're only focusing on one skill set. Whereas in MMA, you've obviously got basically not only all of those things from grappling, but then you've also got all the striking from like kickboxing, Muay Thai and stuff. So you can throw elbows in pro, knees, depending on you can occasionally do head stomps and knees to grounded opponents, but depends where you're fighting. But yeah, so it's a lot more, it's a lot, it's a lot harder. And also one of the big focuses is that, well, whereas in grappling, sometimes you have one opponent. It's normally you're showing up for a tournament format. There's quite a few different guys. Whereas in MMA, you'll have sign a contract where you're specifically fighting one person in 4 weeks. So that one person will be focusing on you. You're focusing on them. So it's like you can tailor your strategy and your training much more. So you'll have like, generally 6 weeks is a good amount. Obviously it can range generally, so you can range, like you end up taking fights on stupid notice. I think the shortest I ever took a fight on was I think 6 hours, but I won actually.
Really? Was that a grapple? Was that full MMA or was that a sub? Oh, really?
No, it's MMA. Yeah, I mean grappling match. That's also the difference. Like a grappling match, I think nothing. Even if I was at a tournament cornering some guys.
You just chuck some shorts on. Let's go.
It wouldn't really matter. It's kind of like, I don't know, especially after you've done MMA, grappling's kind of a bit like playing. Like it's kind of fun. Whereas you can't really play MMA. So
you can be quite creative when it comes to grappling, and you do find a bit of an art to it. But MMA, if you slip, you've got to really concentrate and really, really be present in that moment. Otherwise, you don't want to get torn up. You don't want to fucking break your nose again and whatnot. Okay, well, I guess from what you've kind of described already and what I remember from whenever I used to, I mean, it must have only been about 4 or 5 weeks. It wasn't a long amount of time. Maybe it was a couple of months. Because I remember I was a student as well.
I think it was a couple of months at least.
And maybe I did like maximum 10 sessions, probably not even that. So I remember once doing the like conditioning ones and then go straight into an MMA one with you and being like, I am not okay. Like I remember eating once. I remember eating like an hour or two before a session, and then rolling with someone, and then just having their knee on my stomach, and me being like, "I'm just tapping because I'm gonna be sick."
You're right.
Gonna be sick.
Yeah. Well, I find £1 for every time someone's thrown up during training.
Okay, that's good.
That's common. I think I've thrown up. I think technically I've only thrown up once. Badly, which was where me and Ali Issa, a training partner of mine, we were actually at a friend of ours from the gym's wedding, Eunice, and then suddenly I was asked to come to the evening class because the coach Yusuf was staying at the thing. So me and Ali went over there after having demolished a wedding buffet. Like we were trying to eat each other under the table. We ended up both having to run to the toilet, throw up, and then come back.
Oh my god. My god. Well, I think my experience of Elements was really, really good. I really loved it, and I think I just took the plummet. I just plummeted because of the schedules and whatnot. And when you get further into it, the contact starts getting a little bit harder, and all of a sudden you realise, actually, I have no idea about any of this stuff. And I remember it was really funny because it was Halloween, or it was like around Halloween time, and you'd taken half the class, and then Sam was coming in to take the other half. And I'm like, oh, okay. And all of a sudden I've watched Dom go off, and Dom, essentially you were my kind of lifeline to like, hey, I'm not really sure about this. And you'd be like, that's cool. And you were and you still obviously are a really, really good trainer, because you understood that like this one person might be a high turnover. He might not come back, but at least kind of acknowledge him and make him feel good for why he is here, type of thing. It's not just like a really tight boys club, because there was everyone there. There was girls, there was boys, there was guys, there was girls, there was every kind of. It was very, very diverse, which I really appreciated. And I remember seeing you go off on a Halloween night out, and I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. Oh, this guy seems cool. And then all of a sudden, like, he puts me up with someone who's 6'2", and we were doing something, and I can't remember what we were doing. I think we were just doing striking or something. And I remember, oh, okay, this is terrifying. Then Sam goes, oh, is this the MMA class? And we're like, yeah. And he goes, all right, cool, takedowns. And all of a sudden, like, this guy drops me with a leg kick. So he only connected to my like thigh or something. But I've dropped on the floor like a sack of shit. And he's like, why don't you know how to check that? And in my head, I'm like, you don't know me. I'm not very good.
Sam, that's the bless him. Yeah, he's we ran one of those white collar MMA things together, which they're like, yeah,
I was there. Oh my god,
were you there for that event,
mate? Do you remember I don't know if it was a Swedish guy or something, but there was a guy with bright blonde hair, and he was just throwing hooks left, right, and center. And you're watching people getting knocked out in training, and it was not good because I remember you being like, you're not getting involved in this, and I was like, yes. I am not getting involved in this.
Yeah.
The gym was full.
Crazy. Yeah, it was ridiculous numbers. Because it was a weird one as well. Because basically, it was kind of like because they had I can't remember something ridiculous. It was like 4 weeks or 5 weeks from like zero to then they had a fight with someone at the end. And it was almost like there were so many people in there. It was basically like, well, you got to kind of see which ones last. Like it was not really any, it was like you almost had to, but you like break each other so there was room for people. But we had because also then we had the thing where Youssef gave them the option that they could come to the regular classes because they were meant to first just have their own specific classes where it was only going to be them, and then they started mixing in. I was telling some of this story actually the other day. One of the guys came along and he was sparring with, I know he was in the kickboxing class and he's sparring with one of the, he must have been 14, 15, like a good lad, but quite small and stuff. And really laying into him, like really battering him. And Kathleen, who was one of the assistant coaches for the K-1, he's like kind of calls the guy over afterwards, like he's like, I'm sparring with him next. Like he's just kind of beat up one of the little kids. Oh, well, not little kids, but basically he was out of proportion for how he was going. So anyway, Kathleen goes with this guy. And this guy like throws a kick at Kathleen. Kathleen checks it with his knee, which if you've ever done kickboxing, well, you have, but that's very painful. So the guy screams, goes on the floor, and everything. It's like, okay. So anyway, so we help him up. I think he gets out somewhere anyway, and I don't really think anything ever again. He doesn't show back up in class, but I'm like, okay. Then I see him about a week later in Lidl, and he's got a cast on. He's like, I snapped my shin in half.
Oh,
like completely, it snapped his shin on a green stick fracture on the inside.
Oh,
yeah. Which,
well, I mean, how long would that recovery be? Would that almost be? He
had to be in a cast for 8 weeks.
Oh my god! Yeah, and then you've got PTSD of that. So when you check a kick again, you might be.
I don't think he was coming back to it.
No, not at all.
It was one of those things. I mean, it was one of those ones. He would kind of it was. I know. I kind of think in that sense the leg check's quite karmic because. Kathleen checks it, but it's only the force that he was throwing it with that snapped his shin. Like, because he was throwing like how he was laying into that young kid. Yeah. So, but that white collar MMA was hilarious. It's like so many mixes of different people. Like some of them are like, some of them I really liked. We got a couple of guys who stayed training with us afterwards and stuff, who were really nice and everything. Yeah. And I don't know, there was some that I had to beat the shit out of in training.
Well, this is what I was going to try and lead on to, and my memory is really, really hazy, and I can't remember it very vividly, but there was one time that it was either, the MMA white collar were on the mats and the regular people who were just doing some of the functions, kind of like, what were they called? Because the lessons were structured that it would be like, I always said that we did a function for like half an hour and then we'd spar for half an hour or grapple for half an hour. Would you say that's correct?
That was roughly it. It sometimes depends. Like sometimes the amount ratio would split slightly depending. Like if there were people who were less experienced would generally do more proportionate, at least say 80% of the class was less experienced would generally do more technique and less sparring. But if it's the other way around, if it was like 80% more experienced, then we'd probably do a bit more sparring. But yeah.
And I remember there was a lesson where there was someone, and I want to say, all I can remember, there was a really young kid who was so much younger than me. He was like 10 years younger than me or something, and he was hitting hard, but I remember he stayed after the white collar, and he was quite young. I think he was only 16 or 17, so he wasn't even allowed to compete yet or something properly. But he was really good. But he was good because you could talk to him and say, look, man, like pull your punches a little bit, come on. Yeah. But there was a few other guys. There was one guy with really bleached blonde hair, dyed bleached blonde hair, and there was another guy who I remember when I was sparring when Sam took over that class. Me and him sparred, and he proper rocked me, and I just dropped him. And then we fell over, and it was I thought I broke my toe, and me and this guy we've kind of dropped, and we've I've taken him down, hurt my toe, and all this other stuff. But that was really carnage. But there was one specific lesson or class, and I just remember this guy, and he was proper rocking people. He was just didn't understand it at all, and I think the white collar kind of event was just well, this is how each other are going to be. This is how you're going to be hitting each other. So just go for it. And I remember he did something to one of the regulars in with your class, and did something, and I think they tapped out, and you were just all right, mate, me and you. And I remember you dropped this guy and just choked him out straight away, and it was the most satisfying thing I've ever watched. Where this kind of guy, cocky, MMA, yeah, that's cool, and comes in, and he was a big guy, and obviously he's just crushing people because he's huge, and everyone's very timid because we're watching him literally just hook people left, right, and center, and we're wow, we're just trying to figure out grappling in a nice 60% kind of way, and you were just that's cool, mate, and you're probably what 5'8", 5'9".
I wish 5'7".
5'7". Oh, okay. So similar height to me. I'm 6'6", and all of a sudden you just took on this 6 foot guy and just rocked him and put him on the foot. Probably wasn't as extreme as this, but it was almost you just basically schooled him, and it was the most satisfying thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Just some cocky guy. You just be like, well, if you want to play with the professionals, here we go.
There were quite a few instances like that. It was that kind of weird mix where I said with that the people that had signed up to it, you got some people who literally were just they kind of wanted to do it, it seemed like an extreme thing, the alternative to signing up for a bungee jump, and you got some people who had done bits and pieces and weren't total beginners, and kind of were there trying to beat up the other ones that were total beginners. So it was a bit of a mess, to be honest. I'm not a fan of that. That white collar thing. I wouldn't do it again. That was we were offered it. We were offered it again after that. We're just no. It didn't quite bring in the right atmosphere or the right people.
No, and I think
it was a pain in the neck.
Yeah, you really delivered on a really high ethos of it wasn't his one rule and it's one rule for all, but I remember coming into the first couple of classes and being I feel very safe here, everyone's really lovely, and it wasn't a boys club. It felt very diverse and it was nice. And when the white collar stuff happened, I remember being oh, and then I remember you looking at me and you'd be it's only for a couple of weeks. And I was yeah, okay. So I want to move on to some juicy stuff. As bad as it is, because when I've done these episodes before, I love hearing about disaster touring stories and whatnot. But
I've got a few.
But I don't, but not disaster stories like a stage collapse and kill loads of people. That's not what I'm going for.
No.
So, but Dom, when it comes to, you probably have done a bit of touring because these events and promotions, they're all over the world. But has there only been, before we get into the kind of the good stuff, but has there only been any times that it's kind of gone a bit tits up and you've had any disasters?
A few. Actually, was it? You can check my notes where I scroll things down. Food. I had a few. Actually, this one was kind of to do with travel as well. So it was I think I was fighting in Newcastle on Machine MMA. In fact, the whole thing kind of was. It started off fairly bad and got kind of worse, but we because obviously like the making weight thing, like, so for anyone who doesn't know, like, you've got to weigh in generally 24 hours before the show.
Okay.
And the weight that you are contracted to fight is not your actual weight, so you have to like sauna or cut down the weight artificially.
And it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's quite dangerous. It's dangerous. So this time I normally at this point, I didn't like using saunas anymore because they kind of mess up your head a bit. Like you can get concussed a lot easier if you've lost weight through saunaing as opposed to some other methods. Normally I water loaded, which in simple terms is you drink a shit ton of water for like 5 days prior to weigh-in. You stop drinking it 24 hours and you've switched the hormone and your body just flushes and you end up dehydrated.
Okay.
Which, but I'd done that. I'd fought the week before, and I'd won the week before that. I'd won the week before, so I'd done the water loading for that. And there's something about water loading; it takes a lot out of your body, so it wouldn't really work for the second week. So I had to sauna. So yeah. So anyway, I go to the sauna before I'm picked up to drive to Newcastle. So, because I'm not sure there's a sauna at that end. So I'm like, I'm going to have to sauna here and drive dehydrated. So I had to sauna about 4.5 kilos.
Oh my God.
So I'm in there for, I don't know, probably like, in the end, I got quite quick. My body got quite quick at sweating out, but it's probably about an hour and a half. About an hour and a half. I think the sauna was a bit, the staff were a bit weird about me going in like fully clothed. Yeah, and fully clothed, because we like you fit on like a joggers or bin bags and a jogger, or like there's like old people like sitting in there relaxing. You're like standing there in the corner shadowboxing. It's quite a weird setup. So anyway, I got the weight off, get the weight off, or as close as I can, like a few hundred grams, because I know I'm going to sweat a little bit in the car. So anyway, so then I get picked up in the car. So this is in Norwich at this point. So we've got to drive up to Newcastle, which...
oh man, getting to Norwich, going from Norwich to anywhere is hard because it's A roads until you get to a motorway.
Yeah, it's crazy. So anyway, Scott Barters, who was also fighting on it, was one of my guys at the time. So anyway, I get in the car already like dehydrated, and obviously I can't drink or eat anything the whole drive up there. So like suffering in the back, trying to fall asleep, hopefully, like, because that's the best thing in these kind of situations.
Yeah.
So if you can fall asleep, and normally I got very good at falling asleep during travel, but we eventually make it up there and everything, make the weight. That's okay. Right. So things
mission accomplished, essentially.
Yeah. Been a bit rocky, yeah. Now I've got to drink some stuff. I think I had some northern fish and chips and gravy. That's my first meal after that. Anyway, so that came out with Togo. They came to the fight. This show everything went wrong anyway. Like I think there were 4 of us that went up, and like I think Chris, one of the guys, got armbarred. Gemma lost the decision. Scott was fighting after me. The other 2 were before me. So anyway, I'm warming up for my fight kind of thing. The other 2 are for. And the cornerman goes like, "Oh, where's your gum shield?" And I was like there on the side. So they go to pick it up and they're like, "There's nothing in here." So like, I've realised at that point I've left my gum shield in Norwich. Like I've just brought the case. And so gum shield, like, you need to boil them and mould them. It's not like
something you can just chuck in.
Yeah. So I'm kind of freaking out at this point, because it's like literally I'm the next fight to walk out, and Ian Freeman isn't kind of the person that you tend to want to piss off anyway. So for some reason, it doesn't even occur to me to be like, okay, I haven't got my gum shield, like I can't fight now. Or sort something out. Yeah, or like, can you move me back 5 fights? I need to find a gum shield and boil it, which that could
doable. You could
it's
do
doable.
That.
Yeah. So I probably should have done that. For some reason, that didn't occur to me. Instead, I get Chris's gum shield, who he's already fought. I get this gum shield, and I get a set of scissors for cutting hand wraps, and I cut it until I can hold it between my teeth. So
it's just oh no!
Yeah, just holding it between my teeth.
It's not even doing anything. Let's be honest. It's
not even doing anything. I'm biting on this piece of rubber basically. So that basically, but literally, I don't know. My thinking was literally as I walk to the cage and they ask you to tap your cup and show your gum shield, like it looks like something. So so I do that. And to be honest, the fight was going quite well until I taking the guy down a lot. I was literally at that point, I was like, man, this guy's like really over telegraphing. He's loading up on every shot. Like his stand-up's dreadful. And that's when he knocks me out. Yeah, it was. I mean, to be honest, it was a good shot anyway. The gum shield probably wouldn't have helped a huge amount. But it definitely didn't help. It didn't help that I didn't have an actual gum shield in at the time. That was fighting Dave the Toe Kuncleaf, a very very nice guy, and we're actually quite good friends now. Like mostly via social media or if we see each other at a tournament. But yeah, that's a good time.
Oh mate, that is carnage. I didn't expect that to happen. In my head, I just thought the gum shield was that it. But then the fact of getting for your brain to be, because when you're in that moment and your brain's kind of, you're not tunnel vision at all really, are you? You are quite present in that moment, and you are kind of thinking as you're acting. And
it's kind of, you're kind of hyper aware, I kind of feel at that point, when you're actually like, once you're actually in the fight in the cage, you kind of get very hyper aware. But that's probably the most most out of it I've been from getting knocked out.
And what is how would you explain being knocked out? It's something that I've never fainted or been knocked out before. Obviously,
I mean, it's a weird. I mean, everyone's slightly different. Every time you get knocked out is slightly different. Mm-hmm. It's completely so. Best way I was basically trying to fight someone over that wasn't sure of what anything was or where anyone was. You're completely disorientated. You kind of get that white flash thing happen, but it's like I wasn't like a poleaxe, sort of flatline type, just lying completely comatose. I was moving. I was trying to move, but I thought I was fighting someone here when
but you were actually on your back.
So so it was, I was completely out of there, but my body was still, I suppose, responding to some kind of impulses and moving. But so it's quite a weird feeling. The only thing I always get, you get that flash of everything going white, and as if your ears are really you've been stood right near a speaker while it's gone. So
dude. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not gonna lie, it's a cracker of a story. I don't believe the journey to get there and then all of that happening. So before we finish then, I always finish with sharing is caring. So it's a little something to pass on to people listening or watching. I think my sharing is caring is probably going to be the amount of free battle royale games. But at the moment, my dad and my brother, we're trying to find a battle royale game that is cross-platform. Apex Legends is coming to the Nintendo Switch on the 9th of March, and cross-platform gaming. I feel like it's quite a not a new thing, because it should have been something that's happened. It should have happened ages ago. But definitely get into cross-platform gaming and stuff, because everyone's got different consoles. Everyone's got different ways of doing gaming and whatnot. So I'm very looking forward to that, and I guess that's something that I'm going to pass on. But it doesn't really seem like a proper one. But I feel like yours is probably going to be a lot better.
I guess I'll probably say in this time, because obviously it's tricky to be physically active and stuff, especially goal orientated. It's just Tommy Cuff, who runs a very good online conditioning coaching and stuff. He does South Coast Strength Club, and he's he does really well with kind of, I suppose, sort of tailoring online programs for people and stuff with whatever no kit or whatever kit they've got and stuff. But that's quite one I think it's been handy for anyone sort of looking to.
Actually, I've got to shout out a mutual friend of ours, but shout out Marcus Kane, man. He's been smashing the content recently. He was my mentor. He was my mentor for a long time, and he used to train with you. Obviously, yonks ago.
He used to get boxing one-to-ones with me.
Yeah. He used to do a bit of pad work with me back at the gym as well. It was great.
Oh, that's good.
He's
a cool guy. He's a really cool guy.
Oh yeah, mate. Much love for Marcus.
His stuff. Yeah, he really knows his stuff.
I mean, he's set me up with insane amount of functional training stuff that is lasted for. I don't know. I think it lasts me for. It's interchangeable as well, so it's lasted me for 6 months. But
that's brilliant.
Doing supermarket home delivery is a very taxing thing on my body, which is probably the last time I saw you. Actually, is when you were crossing the road just in front of the marina, and I was like, "Oh, hey, Dom."
Yeah, that would be. Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
Mate, love it, mate. Thank you so much for helping me. We have to stop the recording soon, because otherwise, I mean, yeah, there's so much that we're gonna have to definitely do again, because there's way more about about your journey and everything that we need to get into, because it's incredible. But thank you so much for joining me, Dom. And,
no, thanks, man.
Thank you for everyone watching and listening. This has been Long Drives, Late Nights, and Lobby Calls. I don't know why I shrugged when I did that. I'm like, hello, mate. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, much love, everyone. And we'll speak to you all soon.
Long drives, late nights, and lobby calls. This podcast has it all. With Lewis left.